Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. To make my little containers, I'm using a 2-litre soft drink bottle, and all I'm doing is just removing the label. And now we're going to be cutting it. Now, may I make a suggestion that you cut in this part, which is the center of the bottle first. I'm using a very sharp knife just to puncture it there. And then close the hole and then put one at the top and one at the bottom, and then cut along that line and in there and there, so you're just left with these two pieces. So that's all we've got left. You can use an iron or a sandwich maker. I've got a glass top stove, so I've just placed some aluminium foil over that, and all I'm doing is placing my plastic just on top of there to round off the edges, and then do the other side. And now we've got our little container ready to use with no sharp edges on it. The base and the lid, I'm using some cardboard, and because I'm using 2-litre soft drink bottles, the diameter is 11 centimeters, so I'm setting my compass at 5.5 centimeters, and I'm just going to draw circles. And then just cut them out. I've got my discs cut out, so for the base at the bottom, the radius for this one is 5.5 centimeters for the bottom, and you need 2 pieces of 5.75 for the lid. And now I'm going to be taking some green paper and gluing one of the pieces of cardboard onto that, and then cutting that out. I'm just using one of these glue sticks to glue this down, and then I'll cut it out. You want to make sure that you've covered the whole piece, because we're going to be gluing all our little ornaments on top of the piece of green paper, so you don't want it to come up. I've got it all glued on and cut out, and now we can move on to the next step. I'm using a manila folder to make my borders to go around my container, and I've got a ruler which is exactly 2.5 centimeters wide, because the ribbon that I'm going to be using is exactly the same width. And I've got a pair of scissors that has got quite a nice sort of like shape that goes like that, which I'm going to be using. And all I'm doing now is I'm putting my ruler along there, and then drawing a line and then another line. This one I'll be cutting straight, and this one I'm going to be using my pattern scissors. So we're just going to cut along there. So it gives quite a nice little pattern like that, and then just cut all the way to the end. And then I'm going to be taking some hot glue and gluing it on the inside of the little container. So just place that in. Make sure when you're gluing that you glue onto the cardboard and not onto the plastic, because the bottles do tend to melt. I'm going to be gluing one strip at the top on the inside of the container and one at the bottom, and then we'll glue the ribbon on, and as you can see, it has just that tiny little bit that's going to be sticking out, which is the nice pattern that we've got. I'm using hot glue to do all that. To cover the bottom disc that's going to be the base of it, I'm using these multi-purpose dust cloths, and they're rather nice. They look like felt, and I'm just going to be cutting, like gluing that one on and then cutting it out. Give us a nice base for our little container. And to cover the underside, I've got just ordinary yellow A4 paper, which I'm going to be gluing onto the underside of it, and this one will go on to the top. And now we're going to be working on the lid. So for the underside of the lid, I'm going to be using the same yellow paper and just gluing a piece onto there. So I've got the underside completed, and now for the top side, which is the green piece, I'm going to be taking one of the mushrooms that we made and then just close the gap of the wires and then poke it through the center hole of the compass. So I've got our mushroom, which is the lid, and then flipping it over, just separate the wires so that they go down. Now for myself personally, I like to curl these wires just a wee bit so that they don't just slide straight out when you pull them. And then we put some hot glue on top of that. And just for extra precaution, I take sellotape or sticky tape and put that over that as well. So now it's quite nice and secure in there. And then we're going to glue that piece to the base piece or the top. I'm just using the hot glue again. Make sure you squash it down quite nice and tight. The lids that have got the green top on them, I've also put a green base on them because those are the ones that are going to be getting the green ribbon that's going to be going round. The ones that I've done that have got the gold ribbon on, I've got a yellow top on it and a yellow base on it. And now I've got a slightly thicker cardboard than the manila folder, which is not very much thicker, but it's a lot thinner than this. And then we're going to glue this all the way around. I've got it glued all on, and now we're going to just glue a ribbon onto that. And now I'm just gluing the base to the container, and then glue the ribbon around the bottom. So you're gluing onto the cardboard and a little bit onto the plastic, but make sure that you glue onto the ribbon first because the plastic, like I said, does melt. So we're just going to go all the way around like that. To make the bow, I've got about 20 centimeters of ribbon, and all I'm doing is I'm taking it, crossing it over like that. Try and make sure that these two sides are round about the same length, and then push it into the middle like that, so it looks like an X, and then just crunch this part up like that. Take a small piece of ribbon and then just tie that around there. So we've got our bow, and now I've got some of these pearl borders, which I'm just going to be taking one of the beads. Even though these are self-adhesive stickers, I'm going to actually be gluing it on, so I'm just taking one and then placing it in the center like that. And now we're going to just glue. I've actually glued the little piece that we tied it with. I've glued it down so that it falls between the two legs of the ribbon, and now we're just going to glue that to the side of the lid. I've bought this bag of filler, which is just shredded cellophane, which I'm going to be using to put into my little containers like that. And then we're going to put our eggs in there. I've just bought a whole selection of different kinds of small eggs, which I'm going to be putting into the little containers. I've got some offcuts from the gold ribbon, And all I'm just doing is taking them and just cutting into like little leaves. I'm just cutting two like that. I've just glued it at the bottom like that. My little basket is full with its Easter eggs, and I've bought these tiny little chickens, and I also bought these adorable little tiny rabbits which look like that. I bought those off Temu, and I've got all my little bits and pieces together, the birds' nests and the carrots in their baskets. And now we're going to finish decorating the lid. I've got this fake grass which I normally use for my dioramas, and I'm going to be just taking some PVA glue. I'm just using Hobbycraft glue. I'm just taking a wee bit of that and painting it underneath the mushroom. And then we're going to put some of the grass on there. And then just tip the excess off. So we've got a little mushroom with a little bit of grass underneath it. And now we can start assembling it. So I'm just going to place them on to see if I like the positions of them, and then I'll glue them on. I'm going to be gluing them on with some hot glue. I'm quite happy with the positions of those, so I'll just be gluing those on now. And there's our little Easter gift basket or gift hamper completed. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.